Federal Judge Stephen McGlynn could issue a ruling in the case challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban sometime after Monday. What is it going to be? Well, there's a lot of predictions out there, but will it be overturned if he issues an injunction? I guess we shall see. But one of the questions out there is what happens with those firearms that were bought during the previous injunction? State police said those are illegal after the start of 2024, 10 plus months ago. But what if it happens again? Where are we at in all of this? It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell with America's Talking Network, and join us at the Center Square for the latest headlines on all of this. So the past couple of days, I was on the road visiting a couple of different gun stores, Gat Guns in East Dundee, and also Law Weapons up in Naperville. And it was interesting to hear the contrast between the two locations in anticipation of what could be a final judgment from the district court against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. Because in East Dundee, they're ready to transfer firearms that were purchased during the previous injunction from April to early May, 6-day window where people were, not having PICA, the Protect Illinois Communities Act, enforced against them, and they went to gun stores and purchased those. But some of them may have purchased them on day 5 of that injunction week. And you got to have 3 days of a waiting period before you can pick that firearm up. So when the appeals court overturned that, you could see the dilemma there. But Gat Gun says they're ready to deliver those weapons if there's another injunction. But in Naperville, Law Weapons, as you saw earlier this week with Illinois in Focus, Robert Beavis saying that if there's an injunction for the state's ban, that's not going to impact Naperville's ban. He's still suing and all of that. But part of the trip up north from Springfield to East Dundee and Naperville was with Washington Gun Law, William Kirk. He was in Illinois from Washington State on a tour of sorts, and he shared with me some of what he's hearing on the ground from people attending his event.
Well, I'm finding out is we got a lot of followers out here. I love the fact that Washington Gun Law has been able to connect with the folks out here. I'm glad that we were able to be a voice of giving them some education so that they could understand. Guys like you two that were helping, because there was a lot of insanity and it was happening fast and furious, and there's a lot of bad information out there. So the ability to give people accurate information and allow them to make up their own minds, that's kind of you and I have similar roles there.
So he also talked about what could be the outcome sometime after Monday in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court, and what the steps after that are going to be.
So I'll sum it up in 4 words. It's going to be win, stay, appeal, lose. Because what's going to happen is I do believe the trial court is going to follow the law, and you're going to win. And you're going to get an injunction, and I hope the injunction lasts a few days so at least the folks in Illinois can enjoy some semblance of freedom. But the 7th Circuit's going to step in and stay it. They will. There will be an appeal, and the 7th Circuit will flip it. Why is that? Because that's what happens every single time.
So that was obviously, a prediction that a lot of people are seeing because of what McGlynn, the federal judge in this case, said to close out that bench trial last month. Saying that, the 1917 race riot in East St. Louis, if the black victims there had the firearms that were being debated in the courtroom, would they have been able to better protect themselves from being victimized? So somewhat telegraphing what could be the outcome in the Southern District court case. But to that, Freedom Week that happened back in April, late April to early May in 2023 on preliminary grounds, again, people went out and purchased their firearms, and some of them weren't able to pick them up. But those who did, there was a question about whether or not those would be legal, because once the appeals court stepped in and stayed the lower court's preliminary injunction, all of a sudden the law was back in effect. A year ago, this is from 2023, October, I talked with State Senator Jason Plummer, who had filed legislation to clear it up, that people who purchased firearms when the law was not in effect because of any kind of court action, those firearms are not subject to the Protect Illinois Communities Act. But that measure didn't really go anywhere. Here's a bit of what Plummer had to say back a year ago when I chatted with him.
A little history here, between, I believe it was April 28th and May 4th, a federal court ruling injunction blocked implementation of this gun ban. During that period of time, many Illinoisans went out, legally purchased firearms, and did business with local gun shops, whatever else. When that ruling came out, when that federal ruling came out that blocked the implementation of the law, I immediately reached out to the governor's office, the attorney general's office, the Illinois State Police. I know a lot of other people did as well, to seek guidance, so that we could provide information to gun shops, to gun owners, to potential gun owners, because we were getting a lot of questions from constituents. The Illinois State Police did get right back to us, and they deferred to the Attorney General. And the Attorney General and the Governor's office provided absolutely no information, silence, complete crickets for a week, when they needed to be providing information and guidance to their constituents, to the citizens of Illinois. On May 6th, the Attorney General finally did issue guidance after that injunction was removed. And they stated that firearms that were included in the ban that were purchased or picked up during that window would be illegal starting January 1st, 2024. So, when a ruling went against the governor and the attorney general, they went silent, and they allowed thousands of Illinoisans to go out, exercise their constitutional right. And then when the ruling was, or when the injunction was removed, they were immediately dropping information, basically saying, we're coming after everyone who exercised their constitutional rights during that week. And I just think that's wrong. Again, regardless where you stand on the gun issue, pro or con, it's the job of the governor, it's the job of the attorney general to treat all Illinoisans equally and to provide them information, not set them up to be penalized for doing what millions of people do, every year across the country.
And again, that was Jason Plummer, state senator, talking about his measure that would essentially, say, hey, if people purchased firearms that are banned by the Protect Illinois Communities Act, whenever the law was halted from being enforced by a court order, then they're safe from prosecution. Again, that measure has not advanced, but he said that the law really should just be halted until the final determination by the federal court system, like the U.S. Supreme Court. But then you get into the registration component, and there really hasn't been much focus on that, especially since the last numbers that they published from the Illinois State Police for the registration was, I believe, back in January of this year, January 31st. I'm going to pull this up really quick to see if the numbers have been updated. But let's see here. Protect Illinois Communities Act statistics. Yeah, so looks like the last date they have this updated is over almost 10 months ago. So, again, a year ago, Governor Pritzker was asked about the low registration numbers, and he said that's a right-wing talking point.
So I hate that mainstream media are picking up right-wing media talking points, so let me correct you a little bit. Yeah, there are 2.4 million FOID card holders in the state of Illinois. 2.4 million people do not have assault weapons. So when you talk about the percentage of people who are filing and registering, it's a much higher percentage than what you've cited of the people who are required to do so. I can tell you, at least for me, that I think all of us, take our time sometimes when we know the deadline is 2.5 months hence, that we'll find the time eventually to go online, which is what they need to do, and to register as they're required to do. So we expect there to be more and more people as we get closer to the deadline, which is the end of the year, to do so. And, people who don't, obviously, at some point, they will be breaking the law.
So again, the governor, that was a year ago, he talked about, taking questions of, there's a low registration number. It's the percentage of, people who have registered versus FOID card holders. And it was maybe single digits approaching, maybe double digits. Either way, the total number of, individuals filing affidavits compared to the total number of FOID cards was some estimations abysmal. But, there was Robert Morgan there, state representative who helped spearhead the law. Again, this is from a year ago where he said, hey, people would register or else they're going to lose their FOID cards.
They want to be law-abiding citizens, and they want to be consistent with state law, and they will register their existing legacy weapons. Otherwise, they're risking their FOID card. And I think the vast majority of people are just committed to being law-abiding citizens the way they are now.
So, again, I don't know if that spurred people on to register because the numbers just don't reflect that. Back to William Kirk from earlier this week when he was visiting with a couple of gun stores, again, from Washington gun law. He said that, the Supreme Court's really going to be the final arbiter in all this. But even if McGlynn issues a permanent injunction sometime after next week, and then the appeals court comes in and puts a stay on that, it could, go to the U.S. Supreme Court, but there's already another case that could come up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and that's the case out of Maryland. And Kirk says that likely that's going to be first up, and there should be, some actions that the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals should take because of that.
Because when Illinois' cases went up, they were still kind of in an interlocutory fashion, or it's a fancy word of saying it was before the end of the football game, okay? What's good about the Maryland case is it is final. It is complete. There's nothing else left to do. It is ripe for review. And what's also good is it carries with it a magazine capacity ban as well. So a lot of those issues that they're struggling with here in Illinois, California, out in my home state of Washington, are going to be resolved by the Supreme Court.
And he has some final words for people in Illinois concerned about this issue.
Just quick to the folks of Illinois, I realize that you guys think there is no Second Amendment out there. I know as an Illinois resident that would be tough to do, but if you take a more of a 35,000-foot view and you see what's happening on the national level, the Second Amendment is alive and well, and it will come to rescue you here in Illinois someday too.
So at some point today, I expect there to be some filings from the litigants in this, as McGlynn gave them about 30 days to file final briefs on text history and tradition. So if those are filed today, we'll review those Monday, and then we'll be refreshing the court's page quite a bit to see if and when McGlynn issues some kind of order. Will it be Monday? Not sure. Could it be a week or so, maybe 3 weeks after Monday, to give McGlynn time to digest the briefs that are going to be filed and write his ruling on that? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here with America's Talking Network, as we'll keep you updated with Illinois in Focus daily.